Life is all about elegance and flair and savoir-faire. You don't have to be rich or famous to be unforgettable. Haha. It's not about where you're from, it's about what you've learned.
Hey, it's me, your friend Shaun Proulx for Sun Media. And who is feeling Giovanni? We've got the one and only Luann de Lesseps, Countess Luann de Lesseps with us today. Money can't buy you class, but it can buy you tickets to the Countess Cabaret Tour coming to Canada early June. And I want to welcome you to this conversation, Countess Luann. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm so excited
nice to see you.
Canada.
I was wondering if you've been to Canada before.
I have. You know, my parents are Canadian. My mother is from Montreal. My father from New Brunswick. So I used to go as a child a lot to Canada. And actually, as a young adult, I've actually been to Mont-Tremblant with Jacques, French, my ex-French boyfriend. Yes. And I have cousins and relatives that live in Montreal. So, but I've never been to Toronto. And I have never been to, oh my gosh, I'm going up higher than
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Vancouver's gorgeous.
I've never.
Toronto's really excited about you coming. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be in Toronto for the first time and in Vancouver for the first time.
Ahead of getting to the tour, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Real Housewives and how you felt about Bravo and Andy Cohen blowing up the franchise. What were your thoughts on that?
Blowing up the franchise. I love it. Scandalous. We love a good scandal, right? Listen, I was just as surprised as everybody else. I didn't see that one coming. But I must say, after thinking about it, talking to Andy about it, I kind of like the idea. I like the idea of having the Legacy show and filming with all the OGs. I think that when they saw the success of the Ultimate Girls Trip and the Turks and Caicos, I think that gave them the idea like, oh my God, let's try not to fit a square peg into a round hole by forcing upon, our franchise like newbies that we don't really know. So let's just make a whole newbie cast and let's keep the OGs. So I think it's kind of a genius idea.
And are you coming back?
Well, darling, I imagine it might be, but I don't have a contract in my hot little hands yet. So, I always say, we'll see what happens or watch what happens, as Andy Cohen would like to say.
The fans will revolt, I think, if you're not back on. Last season, I liked it a lot, but it didn't resonate with everyone. Why do you think that is? And it didn't get a finale, a reunion. Was the writing on the wall for that?
Well, listen, it was a tough time to film, period. We were going through COVID and Black Lives matters and an election. I mean, it was a really difficult period, I think. And, I think we had a great season. I think that, that pajama party at Ramona's was kind of the nightcap, the nightcap and the button at the end, because I feel like we came to some sort of resolution. I feel like we were all in a good place. And the timing was off. It just, by the time it came for the reunion and filming it and then airing it, it was kind of late in the schedule of Bravo. So I wasn't mad at it. I stayed in the south of France just a little bit longer.
One of the things I noticed is that you've transformed over the seasons and have become what I would call the voice of reason, the sage almost of the cast.
What's the big deal?
The big deal is...
We brought guys back here, we had a good time. What's the big deal?
You're
upset, you're crying because the guy slept upstairs?
It scared me, Luann. There was a stranger naked in a bed.
I have no idea why he stayed upstairs.
So now I'm not allowed to be upset. Would you be upset about that if you woke up, there was a strange person sleeping in the room next to you? Well,
do you agree with that? Does that surprise you?
Well, listen, I've been called the voice of reason. I've been called Switzerland because, I try to be, even keel and hear out both sides. I always say that the show, that my family prepared me for the show. My parents are French Canadian. I have 6 brothers and sisters. I'm one of 7. My parents have, 11 and 12 children in their family. So I grew up around a bunch of people. So, I think that's important when it comes to navigating people and personalities and figuring out, how to walk that fine line. And I've been doing it for 14 years. hanging out on the high wire because, if you look too much to the right, you're going to fall. And if you look too much to the left, you're going to get eaten alive. So, it's a very difficult balancing act. But like I said, I feel like my family helped prepare me for these women and all these diverse personalities.
So let's get to the Countess Cabaret tour. Tell us what we can expect when we first see you in Toronto.
Well, what you can expect is a really good time. You're really kind of entering my living room. How I started cabaret is that, a really good friend of mine said, "Hey, Luann, you really like to sing for your friends. You love to tell jokes and you love to host parties. I got to tell you, you should be doing cabaret." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And, in the meantime, I was getting married and divorced. I had a little bit of life to go through before that. And then I started putting together the show. And I just have so much fun with it. It really is all about me. And my love affair with music and my love affair with storytelling, my love affair, with comedy, because, I've always loved variety, Carol Burnett, and, I love cabaret stars, back to Bette Midler, and Liza Minnelli and all of those greats, and Carol Burnett, what she did. And, that has been my inspiration. And I wanted it to be kind of like cabaret variety. We're going to talk Housewives. I do a Q&A with the audience. I sing things like dreams because I've always dreamed, from Stevie Nicks, because I've always dreamed of this life. Never did I imagine, I would land in New York being, on the Housewives, getting to play myself. I didn't dream about that. But, so I sing songs that are very personal to me. I make them my own. I do a little David Bowie. I sing some of my classic songs. I think if I didn't do a couple of those, people would throw tomatoes. So I deliver. I work very hard on my cabaret. I have a new director, Richard J. Alexander, who's the director of Kristen Chenoweth and Barbara Streisand.
Wow.
So I'm working with an incredible team. Billy Stritch was with Liza for 25 years. So I have a great band that I travel with. And the show aims to please. It's really a fun ride, and I talk about also all the terrible things that happened to me in my life. And, and it's, it inspired me to get on stage and tell my stories and sing my favorite music. And of course, we've got to talk Housewives. And you're going to see, from the Ultimate Girls Trip, I got inspired to write F-bombs on the G with the OGs. So you're going to see that in the show. People are really loving it. New York, I got the best reviews from Broadway World. And if New York loves me, then the rest of the country,
everyone will love you.
Gonna love me.
When you put, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will, and I'm sure everyone will, wherever you tour. When you put together a dream like this, there are obstacles along the way.
Yes.
And I wonder what some of them are. I know that one season there were a lot of naysayers around you who thought you were talking about this cabaret act too much. And I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel you were talking about it all the time. But people like that, what are the obstacles that you've had to overcome to make this dream a reality?
Well, listen, a lot of the women are like, we are women supporting women. Well,
right.
I can tell you by watching what you see on the show, and you got to remember, the show is just a glimpse of what's really happening in our lives because it's a very short time on the screen. But, and when you see my cabaret on the Housewives, you go, what's going on? Because, music rights are an issue for television. And so they can't really show a lot of the music that I'm singing. So it always resorts to what's going on in the drama of the Housewives as opposed to what's really my cabaret show is about. So you don't really get to see that. You just get a glimpse. And it's generally, of course, edited around the drama of the cabaret, right? So, the obstacles have always been that, which is, I'm tired of it being represented on the show and it doesn't give it the best light because I really do work hard at it and it is a really professional show. So that's one hurdle that I've had to get over. The other hurdle is having the women constantly putting me down because I'm doing what I love. And that's not about me, that's about them. And so I try not to let what they think about what I do affect me and my performance. It certainly hasn't affected the rest of my life. I do what I do, and I love getting on stage, and regardless of what those women say, I work hard at it and I love it. And who cares what people think or say?
What do you say to people who are watching this?
What my fans say and think about my show. And if you see the fan response to my shows, people are loving it. That's all I need to know.
What do you say to your fans who are watching this right now, who have a dream they want to grab hold of? What encouragement do you offer?
Well, listen, you have to follow your dreams in life. I think that, if you can do what you love in life, that's so important. And, you got to give it the good old try, because, you can always go home. That's what I've always said to myself. I moved to Europe. I didn't know anybody. I was terrified there. And, I stayed, I stuck it out. I learned Italian and I stayed in Milan. And that drove me to where I was going to go next, which was to Switzerland and meet the Count. So when I met the Count, he said, "Where have you been all my life?" I said, "Getting ready for you." Because, I'm just a kid from Connecticut, and, I made my way to Europe. I, married into one of the most important families in history. I didn't know that was going to happen, but it did happen. And I just feel like if you don't take chances in life, you're never going to get to where you could go. And like I said, you can always go home. You know where that is. So why not give it a good try?
I don't know whether you know this, but Canadians love reality TV. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that a lot of people love reality TV because, we've watched scripted, and, Housewives has outlasted, Sex in the City, which I just saw Candace Bushnell last night perform at the Carlisle, which was amazing. She's a really good friend of mine. So we've outlasted Sex in the City. We've outlasted Desperate Housewives. And, when Housewives came out, I'll never forget, we kind of took over daytime television in soap operas. And slowly the soap operas went away because of reality. I think people just, relate because they have the same problems that we all do. Whether it's dealing with a husband or dealing with divorce or dealing with a guy that's cheating or dealing with kids that are having issues, or, I think people relate. I always say New York City is like one of our housewives because, either you lived in New York and you miss it, or you want to go to New York and you get to see it. So I think that's a big draw, especially for New York City. And, listen, if we can inspire anybody, that's already amazing for me.
How did you enjoy mixing it up with the other girls on the Ultimate Girls Trip?
Oh, I loved it. I was feeling myself on that trip. I was having the best time. Nobody could ruin my fun.
They couldn't.
I really was feeling great, and so I really enjoyed the trip. I can't say the same for Ramona, but
you were a saint on that trip with Ramona. I could never have been such a good friend as you were with her, given that behavior. You
have to remember, Shaun, that those girls get to go home to their prospective cities. Right. I have to go home with Ramona.
Right. So you're smart. You're smart that way.
Well, I've been doing it for a while.
Are you married to the Housewives machine? Can you see yourself just saying goodbye one day? A lot of housewives who've come and gone say you have to know when to go.
Yes. I believe that. I always say, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. From year to year, like there's been years where I go, I'm never going back. That's it. I'm done. And then I kind of get lured back in, and it's my discombobulated family in a weird way. When I see Ramona and Sonia and Dorinda and all the girls, I just, they're like family to me because we've been at it for so long. And so, even though we sometimes don't agree, it's like your family, and you have to sit down at Thanksgiving dinner and have the turkey.
And do it anyway. I'm aware of the time. I want to ask you one last question. I think you've been so bold and so brave, and you inspired so many people, detailing the mental health challenges of sobriety and alcohol abuse. And I'm wondering what you would say to people who look up to you and see you all the time coming and rising as you have out of that, to assist them with their own problems if they're watching this right now.
Right. Well, listen, everybody's the same, everybody's got problems. And it's not about how you fall. It's really about how you stand back up. And, and if you do fall, make it part of the dance. It's like, it's like, oh yeah, okay, fine. When I talk about that in my shows, I'm far from perfect. It's progress, not perfection. And, sobriety is a difficult thing. And I think that it's day by day. I ultimately am so much happier when I don't drink. I just lose my connection to our higher power. I'm very spiritual, and I feel like that's a very important piece for me, is to keep connected. And the minute I have a drink, I lose that connection. It just goes out the window. So I highly suggest anybody who's seeking sobriety to really latch on to that spiritual side, which is being connected with yourself. And that's why I created, my Fose is, I'm very proud of that. That's something I created because during the pandemic, people were drinking like crazy, and I was sober with my daughter. And we couldn't find anything we liked. So we decided we were going to make it. And that's how Fose was born. It was really out of lack. And you have to try it. It is so good, Shaun.
I'd love to try it.
Yeah, it's not something, there's a lot of housewives that are selling stuff and blah, blah. This is something that I made with my daughter. It's very personal. It's in an elegant, elevated bottle, so you can feel like you're drinking right along with everybody else. It looks like rosé. It can sit in the bottles of rosé, and you would never know you're not drinking, because there's a certain stigma when you order a Perrier. Let's face it. Oh, she doesn't drink. So, it was partly that, and partly because, if you go for a mocktail, it's very hard to find a good mocktail artist. So you're generally getting something very sugary. It's not really what you wanted. I wanted to take that away, like order a Fose and you're done. And at 30 calories and being as delicious as it is, people are just blown away by it. And it's filled with like really good ingredients, like very healthy. I put little natural tannin in it, and rosemary, and vanilla, oak. So it really does. My daughter's like, oh my God, this tastes like rose. There's wine in here. I'm like, no, it's not. But that's what I wanted. I don't like, I don't like some of the brands that are out there they take the alcohol out of wine. And generally they're not really good. So this is totally built from the ground up, and something I'm very proud of. And listen, my goal ultimately is to not drink, but it's progress, not perfection. And we have to just take it day by day and aim high.
Luann, I wish you joy, and I wish you great success and a wonderful time when you come to Canada. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. I can't wait.
Let us know what you think. Are you going to go see Luann as she tours Canada? So let us know in the comments below, and also follow our YouTube channel.